Saying thank you to everybody in the front row.
Alex, do you want to wear this?
Wear whatever you need me to wear.
There you go.
I'll do whatever you need me to do.
That's it.
I've learned to just listen to Ant. If you listen to Ant, you'll be all right. What'd you say? Thank you. First and foremost, I just want to start by saying thank you, because I don't take it lightly that I get to stand here and talk to you today. And when you add up the amount of hours in this room that are being used to hear what I have to say, it's a lot of people and it's a lot of hours. And so I'm going to give you guys, so if that sounds okay with you, let me know. Is that okay? Okay. All right, so today the talk is about 5 trends that you need to know from 2025 that are shaping our local market. And I know that we have some agents in here that are not from Northeast Florida. I want to clarify. This applies to most likely your market as well, but the concepts that we're talking about should make the market a lot more approachable, a lot easier to understand. And normally I'm known for going really deep into the market and into the weeds and understanding all that. But today we're going to take it and we're going to look at it from 10,000 feet. Okay, this is going to give you everything you need to know to jumpstart 2026 and to move forward with success. Now, the first lesson that I want to share is never assume that people know what you do and how you can help them. Okay? Too often we assume that they know us and they know what we do. So I want to let you know, my name is Dr. Alex Stewart. I'm the founder of the Market Distillery. And before that, I was a financial analyst. I was a mortgage banker for 8 years, as Ant talked about. I taught at UNF for a couple of years. And when I was doing that, I realized that the real estate community had all this information about the market, had all this information about houses that were selling, had all these clients that had questions, but there wasn't really a lot of resources for how to actually answer them. We couldn't really make sense of what we were given or what we were shown when it comes to the market. And so I created the Market Distillery as a way to be that independent provider of that information. Basically, make complex things simple and easy to understand, right? Now, just like everyone's business evolves, my business has also evolved, because when I started, I thought it was all about just the data and the numbers. And if I brought you the right information, that's what you needed, because you just needed that little tidbit to be able to take it to your client and help them. But I've learned that the stats are just a piece of the puzzle. At the end of the day, there is much more to it. And so I'm evolving this business to where I'm coaching realtors to build a business that's full of their dream clients by making smarter market moves. Because I believe that we have the ability to control our businesses into specific directions. And the biggest thing we want is to have only dream clients, no nightmares, right? The problem is what do we have most of? Freaking nightmares, right? Now, we're going to walk through these. I'm going to explain them, and then I'm going to give you some background information. You guys are probably going to want to take pictures. But I want to let you know that my gift to you at the end of this is you're going to be able to download all these slides. So you can take them with you. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't take pictures. If you want to take pictures, and if you do, tag me at the Market Distillery. Happy to be a part of that. But let's begin with trend number 1. And this one is going to hit hard, straight out the gate. Okay, when we look at our market, there is a big dynamic going on here between sellers and testers. Right now, maybe you haven't called it this, but I'll tell you right now that most everybody gets really, really excited when they get a lead for a listing appointment, and they go to that listing appointment and they treat all the listing appointments the same in a lot of ways, right? And we start to even maybe spend the money in our head before we've even, gotten too far down this road. But show of hands, how many of y'all have had a listing in the last year that didn't sell? Man, if we'd asked that in 2020, I don't think many hands would have gone up, right? And it shows you how the market has changed in just a few years. The problem is that we have 2 very different groups of people that are listing their homes on the market for sale today. We have sellers on one hand. These are the people that own their home and are motivated to get it sold. So what do? They listen to you, they take your advice, they're willing to price it where they need to price it, and surprise, surprise, the home sells. But unfortunately, we have a bunch of knuckleheads on the other side of this equation, right? We have a bunch of people that go, hey, I'd like to list my house, but here's the price I'd like to list it at. And I know you told me this price, but we're going to be up here. Do you want the listing or not? And the hard part is, out of scarcity, what do we say? We say, let's talk about maybe in 2 weeks reducing the price. The problem is in 2 weeks, still overpriced, even if we reduce it, right? And so what we really need to do is understand that sellers and testers and your ability to identify which one you're talking to right front is huge for the success of your business, right? And I want to make this memorable for you because this is a metaphor of what we're looking at. If you were hungry and you wanted a muffin to eat and you looked really quickly and you made a choice, it's about 50-50 whether you're getting a muffin or a chihuahua. Right? Sellers versus testers. Sellers are the muffin, testers are the chihuahua, right? Let's do one more for fun. What about these bagels? You see, having been in real estate and doing deals, I understand that we move fast. And we're, in a lot of ways, so excited about either helping someone or securing the deal before somebody else gets it, or just losing the opportunity because we don't have room to lose another opportunity in our lives. And we move fast and we end up picking the wrong one. But I can tell you right now that if you take time, and I love that I got to sit in a few rooms and hear this advice being given, take time to properly talk to your people about their goals and get a sense for, are they a seller or a tester? And then on top of that, having a plan. If I get a seller, here's what we do. If I get a tester, here's what we do. That's going to save you guys so much headache going forward, right? And one of the things we track every single month is trying to actually quantify how many sellers and testers do we have in the market. And the way I do this is I look at days on market, because if a house has been sitting for 60 plus days, we got a tester. Price is wrong, home is not selling, 60 days is too long, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the biggest concerns about our market and why people think it's going to crash is sudden rise in inventory over the last couple of years, right? We went from a few thousand houses to 11,000 earlier in the year. And the truth is that it's nothing like 2006, because 66% of our market are testers. They're not motivated to sell. They're not pushing prices lower. They're not fire selling their home. And so it's one of these situations where we realize, okay, great. You might have 8,500 homes on the MLS when you log in. We potentially have only about a third of that that's realistically in the market. And some of those have just not expired long enough for us to see that they're testers. Okay, so trend number one, you got to figure out, are you dealing with a seller or are you dealing with a tester? Because in today's market, there are a lot of testers. And if you can sniff that out, it's going to save you a lot of headache. Okay? Now, trend number two from 2025 is the haves versus the have-nots. Now, this has sort of always been a challenge in any market, in any time, but we're seeing that it's changing as we head into 2026, because a lot of you, if I were to ask this whole room individually, hey, how's your business? How's the market? What do you think about it? I'm going to get all of the answers. Because in this room, I think we have enough people here where you're going to have people that had the best year they've ever had in their entire career last year, and you're going to have people that had the worst year they've ever had in their entire career last year. And a lot of it has to do with who their clients are. Because if your clients are in the have category, in today's market, they can make a lot more happen than if your clients are in the have-nots. Right? It's kind of crazy though, because if you go back to 2020, it wasn't like that, was it? Right? Because when the market was all about who has the cleanest contract, a contingency to sell a house would kill your deal. So the haves actually were a little disadvantaged if they had to sell that house in order to buy. And the first-time buyers, which suddenly could enter the market and everything was affordable, had an advantage because they were just buying, right? But when we look at this, it's showing up specifically when you look at the age of who's participating in today's market, right? NAR shows us that the average age of a buyer has gone up dramatically since 2020. It's kind of always trending higher, but all of a sudden we see this big jump. And some of that has to do with the affordability of what's going on. Some of it has to do with the fact that, everything kind of went up, like stocks went up, real estate went up. And so the people that own those things, they have so much more worth that they can take action in this market. They can leverage that. But this is also, again, really paramount for you thinking about, who do I help? Who do I typically work with? Because if my business is based on first-time buyers, it might be a kind of harder year for me. I might be walking uphill compared to if my business is based on retirees or relocating people or people that are moving up in the ladder, right? And the Fed puts out numbers every single year to show us net worth by age. And it's kind of crazy how fast it jumps up as soon as we get older. It starts to make sense why the people buying homes are in that older range, because their net worth is so much higher that they can make that happen right now. Okay, so we got first trend. We got to figure out the sellers and the testers. The second trend that's going on is we got to understand, is our business relying on people that are haves or have-nots, and how are we going to manage that, right? The third trend that we're talking about is speed versus strategy. Okay, now if we go back again to 2020, who won in that market? It's the fastest, right? In most cases, it was the agents that had access to the properties before they even went on the market, and had clients who were willing to waive all their rights without seeing the home, right? And offer as high of a price as we could probably imagine offering, higher than the seller even thought they would get, right? It was a market dominated by speed, but our market has changed. It's no longer a market that's dominated by speed. It's a market that's dominated by strategy. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have multiple offers, and that doesn't mean that there aren't situations where speed does matter. But the large majority of transactions, there's time to think. There's time to figure it out. And really, the bigger challenge we got is, how can we come up with a solution where my buyer feels comfortable to move forward and my seller is rational enough to come to terms with this buyer, right? And so the way that I measure this is I look at days on market again, and you can see that going back in time, if we were to draw a line at 40 days on market, you can see there are periods where we slip into a market based on speed, periods where we slip into a market based on strategy, and that is one of the bigger changes that happened in 24-25. We went from a market based on speed to a market based on strategy. And you have to ask yourself this question: are you having strategic conversations with your clients? Because I think a lot of agents are so eager to get the deal or to get the deal done that they kind of rush the process. And in today's market, when you push the speed on this transaction, what does it make the buyers feel? Scared, pressured. They start to double think, like, you just want me to buy, you've got commission breath, all those things. We have to change the way that we approach our clients, and we have to say, let's talk about what's going on in today's market. I want to set the stage for you. I want you to understand that we have to be very strategic with how we approach this process, because if we don't have the right strategy, you're not going to be able to accomplish your goals. And there are some pretty common challenges that we've got to overcome in today's market, and you go through those, right? And so keeping track of this helps you understand, again, what to focus on. And then the other piece of that is figuring out what strategy to actually use. So we've got sellers versus testers. We've got haves versus have-nots. We've got speed versus strategy. The fourth trend is brake versus gas. Now, we are exiting a time where the brakes have been pressed on our market, right? See, like, we have our market here, but there's this external force that impacts our market, AKA the government and the Fed. And they can decide whether they want to press the brake or they want to press the gas, depending on what's going on. And it's kind of crazy because we have gone from all gas to what sort of feels like all brakes to what we're feeling like might be, again, all gas in a short amount of time. And this has profound implications for you and your business, because it's like, are you operating your business walking up a hill, or are you actually operating your business walking down a hill? And for the last couple of years, we've been walking up a hill. Amen? Anybody? Easy for all y'all? It's one of these things where this helps you to manage your own expectations, because I think a lot of times we hit a new year We get super excited about what is to come, not realizing that external forces are hitting the brake on our market and that that's going to actually make things a lot harder than we think. And then we get really frustrated when suddenly it's not easier this year, right? But this might be the year that it actually is easier. Because one of the ways that you can track if the Fed and the government are pressing the gas or the brake is to look at how the money supply is changing. This is how much money are they printing? How much money is in circulation? It goes all the way back into the 1980s. And I bet you didn't realize that 24 and 25 were the first time we went negative since the 80s on this measure. Like I feel like we lived through some hard times, but didn't really quite appreciate it at the time. And the other thing that you got to know here is this is like an old truck engine, right? We press the gas, we hear some noise, but nothing really moves right away, right? It's revving up and it's this slow roller and eventually it gets up to speed. That's the same way that this stimulus happens, the same way this Fed happens, right? They can cut the rates to make the market better. They can stimulate it by printing money, but it doesn't happen overnight. And so even though we've been getting some rate cuts, even though they've been announcing that they're no longer going to take money out of the market, they're going to start to put money in the market, it's not going to show up tomorrow. You're not going to feel it right away. But what you will do is you'll start to feel it over time. And I think we've already felt the psychological effects of the announcements as there's been a lot of energy around the real estate market, even though rates are not necessarily drastically different than where they were before. And so this can have that sort of mindset positivity, as well as just know that's going to start to show up. And this matters a whole lot because when I was looking at the housing market, the one thing that I wanted to try to figure out is how could I predict home prices, right? Like what matters to home prices? And it was a lot more simple than I thought because when I looked at the supply of money compared to the home prices, they're almost perfectly related. So this blue line, that's Jacksonville's home price index. And this chart tells us a couple things. One, anybody notice a difference in 2008? Right? Home prices got way ahead of where the money supply was. And if we were paying attention to this back in the day and we kind of knew about this, we would have said, okay, danger, Will Robinson. This is an issue coming up. But everybody's worried about a bubble right now. And I'm looking at this going, I don't know. We printed a whole lot of money. I think we're right where we should be based on where the money supply is. And as that continues to rise, what do you think that's going to do to home prices? It's going to pull it up with it, right? It's going to act like this sort of magnet where the money supply is going to go up and over time it's going to pull home prices with it. So this is really important for your clients because when they ask you, I just don't know if now is the right time, I'm trying to figure out, I'm just scared, prices might go down. This might be the one chart you need to show them. The one thing you need to know about, the one thing you need to be able to explain. Because if you understand that prices tend to rise and our money just gets printed, the game gets a lot more simple. We stop trying to gamble and guess when the market's going to crash, and we start to understand that if you just go with it, it works out a lot better. Okay? Now, we've got sellers versus testers, haves versus have-nots, speed versus strategy, and brakes versus gas. Let's talk about this final one, and I want to preface this. I understand that what I'm about to say is controversial. But I did go to the AI session today, so I at least know what was said in there, and it was good. We have a big trend starting in 2025 of authentic versus AI, where we have gone from a world, quite literally a world, where authenticity was pretty much everywhere, right? The videos we saw were real. The people that were interviewed were real. The conversations that you had were real. When you called somebody, it wasn't a robot, it was a person. And we have now entered this digital era where AI is everywhere. Now, I love what this bar camp did because they didn't let every session be about AI, even though I would guess there's probably a lot of people that would like that. But I think that AI poses a huge risk to this room, but in a different way than you think. I think we have a lot of people that are focused on AI, and it's just the next shiny object. We're looking for a silver bullet for our business, and we think that AI is it. And the truth is that AI is not going to save you, right? And in a lot of ways, I think agents these days are trying to figure out how to outsource their business to AI. How can I get AI to do more of what I do so that I don't have to do as much and I can have more time? And I get it. I'm all for that, right? You hire a team, you're basically doing the same thing. It's just not with technology. But we run a whole lot of risks with this that I don't think we're aware of. I want to share you some stats. There's a marketing agency for social media and AI called Billion Dollar Boy, and they did a study. And in this study, in 2025, they found that 78% of creators, which y'all are all creators, if you make content, you're a creator. All y'all make content. 78% of creators believe AI-generated content performs better than traditional content. Okay? Now, in my head, I immediately go to the singing Sasquatch videos from when the AI videos first came out, right? It absolutely went viral when the technology was first out. We had this novel new thing. It was exciting. It was cool. And so I get why people would look at AI and say, I think that AI is like a good thing for content and it's helping me and I'm able to put out a lot of stuff, right? Here's the downside though. We're not focusing on the right people. We need to focus on our consumers. And unfortunately in the survey, only 26% of consumers believe that AI-generated content was preferable. So we have this really big disconnect between the people making the content and the people consuming the content. People making the content love it because it's easy. People consuming the content, and you probably are doing this in your own life, are scrolling right by. Because we are now blaster shields up, antenna up. If I see anything that even remotely feels wrong, I'm sliding right past it. And in fact, you go through most of your social media, I don't really know that there's much real on there at all anyway, right? We don't even see our friends on there anymore. You have to like purposely go to their page to find that. And here's my metaphor. When somebody gets just a little too much plastic surgery, you're like, something is off here. And that's where we're at with AI right now, is I think we have the feeling of like, okay, I get it. It does look kind of real, but it's just something is off and I don't trust this, right? Which leads me to the last stat from this survey. Just in 1 year, there's been an 18% decline in trust on social media because of AI content. Now, I love that I heard this in the room that I was in earlier. The number one thing that matters to you and your business is not AI, it is trust between you and your clients, you and your customers, you and your people. And so I want to just caution you that if you start using AI too much in your business, just know there are warning signs that say that if your people, your prospects, see AI going on, what are they thinking? What do I need you for? I'm just going to put it in ChatGPT if that's all you're doing. Right? And the hard part about AI is, sure, if you don't know anything, AI will bring you up to the average pretty quickly. But if you're good at what you do, AI brings you down to the average if you let it. So you got to be aware of that so that you don't get caught off sides on this, because I think that, again, AI, it should empower you, it should enable you, it should never replace you. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Now, we're going to end with this. I do forecasts, but they're just best guesses. By the way, if anybody ever tells you what a forecast is, there's two types, right? There's those that don't know and those that don't know they don't know. Okay. What I want to focus on is I don't want to focus on the market as much. I want to focus on things you can control. And so I've got 5 questions that you need to ask yourself so that you can overperform in 2026 and beyond. And the first question is, have you defined success in your own terms yet? It is this time of year where I get to just observe the real estate community and watch everybody post their highlight reel. And last time I checked, when you start comparing, it's very quickly going to turn into you not feeling so great about what you did. You're going to think, man, I thought I did awesome until I saw her and I didn't do so awesome, right? But we don't talk about profit. We don't talk about the amount of hours that was spent. We don't talk about the cost that was going into that. We don't talk about the relationships that might have been neglected. We don't talk about the health that went into all that. And so I want you to think to yourself in 2026, what does success look like for me? Because we are empowered in an industry that lets you define success however you want to define success. So the first step is to figure out what do you want so that you know your goal. The second step, the second question is, do you have a clear strategy beyond do more? Because this is a real challenge in our industry, and I felt this as a mortgage banker, is when you don't know what to do, the answer is, I guess I'll just do more. I'll make more calls, send more notes, do more pop buys, all of that. And the problem is that only leads one place, burnout. What we have to do is we have to think smarter instead of only thinking work harder. Question 3, are you flowing with or fighting the market? This is a big deal because, again, you can have your whole business set up a certain way and it's totally against the way the market's going. And you wonder why it is so hard. But the agents that are paying attention to the market, that understand what's happening, are able to gently pivot into areas and find opportunities that help them to succeed, to help make it easier than it otherwise would be. Question 4, what makes you irreplaceable to your clients? Now, one thing I know in this room is that every single person here has a superpower. It may not be seen through walls or flying, but it is a superpower nonetheless. And I also know this, you completely disregard your superpower. You think it's normal, you think it's usual, you think it's no big deal. That's why you need a buddy in this. You need somebody that you love and you trust to say, hey, can you help me figure out what my superpower is? And they're gonna go, oh yeah. You like always remember everybody's names and birthdays and you have this perfect memory and all this stuff. And you lean into that stuff. That's how you build your business around your superpower to make yourself irreplaceable, because most real estate agents, when they get talking to people, all it is, yeah, I'm a real estate agent. Do you know anybody that wants to buy, sell, or invest? The truth is that we need to go deeper than that. We need to talk about what we're passionate about, who we help the most, who we serve, what our business is built to do. And finally, question 5, how are you sharing more of your authentic self in your business? And this is a hard one because it's scary, because people will judge us. That's what we're thinking. Because what if they find out I'm a fraud? Because what if they find out I'm weird? I'll be the first one to say I'm very weird. It's okay. We're all weird, right? But in this world, in this industry, we have a tendency to try to fit in. We have a tendency to try to smooth out our rough edges, to try to make sure we fall in line, that we don't have too strong of any opinion, because we want to serve everyone in every market. And we don't ever want to miss out on a single deal by offending anyone. But I'm going to tell you right now that you need to be more of yourself. When you do your marketing, it should not be, I'm copying this person because that's what's happening. It should be, what is interesting to me? What is something that vibes with me? And you'll find that attracts the people that value you. That when you are yourself, people are going to go, you know what? I like her. We would be friends. And suddenly, the more you're yourself in your business, the more you find that you've got dream clients every day. Because when you're working with people that don't vibe with you, it's not a good thing. But when you're able to help your people that value you and that appreciate you and don't ask you to lower your commission every single time, life gets a whole lot better. Okay, so with that, I'm going to put a QR code up here. You guys can take your phones out and scan this, and you will be able to get the slides emailed to you. I'm so excited for the rest of the session. Ant, are you going to lead us into the next session?
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Dr. Alex Stewart. Did you guys learn something? Did you guys learn something? Did he put you a little bit at ease, or did he make you like, oh crap, nice? Just thank you, Dr. Alex Stewart. Which one do we feel like? You know, we gave some good tips, gave some good data, get those QR codes, download that stuff, but more importantly, let's put this knowledge to implementation in action. Ladies and gentlemen, your sessions 3 and 4 are waiting for you. Enjoy the rest of your sessions.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Welcome. Let me take this. She has a lady right there. I don't know her.
Alrighty. There we go. We're going to go into our next session over here. That was
I don't know what to say about it.
from the Market Distillery. And I hope you come back and watch this again later if you want to learn more about the market trends. And of course, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can always just ask me.
Go to your session.
Because I'm here, I've got my ears open, and I'm willing to learn and take notes and get back to you with everything you need to know to make a great decision in the market today. Alrighty, I'll see you next time.